Moving on to the next question. So we've seen lean over the past 2 decades and more. I think it showed a lot of resilience in not being interpreted as sort of the flavor of the month. It was the fear that many people had at first, but it's managed to stay relevant, let's say. So, what is in your opinion that's something that distinguished lean from other improvement methodologies and kept it relevant in the past 2 decades or so? And what is, do you think, the biggest challenge to the lean movement today?
Well, what distinguishes it are 2 things. One is lean is about practice. It's not derived from theory. It's derived from observing practice that has been honed and discovered and worked through practice. So there's a reference model, and Toyota's the reference model that we've all looked to. Mm-hmm. And whenever we thought we understood what lean was, and we often didn't, we had somewhere to go back to. Mm-hmm. Whereas the theoreticians, in all of the other improvement methods, A, didn't have a reference model, and B, it was derived from theory anyhow. Mm-hmm. And so it's just not robust and doesn't last. Now, and that's not saying that lean is going to have an easy ride, because, as we said before, lean implies a very different form of management and engagement and coaching and so on. And I think that's the biggest stumbling block, mm-hmm. is that management itself is going to find it very hard to actually learn to manage in that way. Taylor's still absolutely alive, both in terms of command and control, but also in terms of hiring experts. The justification of experts as the answer to a problem, as the second legacy of Taylorism, and they're still very much alive. And yet, what appeals from lean, appeals to everybody intuitively, is that it actually is based upon creating fulfilling and challenging work for everybody involved. And that's not a promise that Taylorism can offer at all.
Mm-hmm. Dan is right. We have a real-life exemplar in Toyota, and I think what is really interesting is to see that they had many concepts throughout their history. Mm-hmm. They had the notion of Jidoka came up very early. They had the notion of just-in-time came up before the war. But what really made all of this work in practice on the shop floor was when they went to Kanban and Kaizen. Mm-hmm. And I think this is still what is very unique, is how do you work the pull system with Kanban to highlight the places you do Kaizen with the people. Mm-hmm. I think that's where it makes it work. Now, what is very interesting is that Toyota is expert at doing Kanban and Kaizen in an automotive specific situation, which is a very specific industry. And I think what we in the lean movement have done is try to understand what this Kanban and Kaizen means if you run a software company, if you run a service company or a hospital company. I mean, certainly I was recently in a hospital and we looked at outgoing patients rather than ingoing patients in a sort of Kanban thinking. And to me, this is what really distinguishes. Many people do lean trying to avoid the Kanban Kaizen thing. They try to take all the other tools and they try to take the problem solving, or they try to take the cost cutting, or they try to take some very strange things. The other key thing about lean is that Kanban involves quality. Kanban means you pull work as work is demanded, but you can only do Kanban if you pull quality work. So quality is such a big thing in lean. And again, this is not a message we've sometimes pushed across as strongly as we did. So what remains distinctive to lean is this Kanban with quality, making Kaizen for everybody. It's a very specific. I think we can see it right away when you see it. And again, in many places we see people try to work. It's a bit hard. You have to learn it. At some point you have to learn something. You have to invest in it. And you see people trying to work their way around it. And what they have is not quite lean.
Yeah. If I can add, your second part of the question was, what do you see as a
the biggest challenge
challenge
to stay relevant for the lean movement?
I think is really understanding what it is about, and that's not so easy. So people fall in love with the tools, don't even mind to look for what the real problems are, or find it too hard, find it too difficult to really dive in, and just let's try 5S, or let's try. Well, they could try Kanban or Kaizen, but they typically go for the simpler ones, and then you don't get the results that you want.
Great, thank you.